Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. Ray Flowers breaks it all down for you from a fantasy sports perspective. Hey there, everyone. Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. How you doing today? I've got a little snooty cold here, so I'm going to do my best to make sense and not sound terrible while doing it. Let's see if I can have success. We'll find out over the next hour or so. Again, I'm Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. Thanks for joining me today, as I know many of you do on a consistent basis daily, Monday through Friday, 12 o'clock Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Time. Thanks for joining me on this journey. As you can see, we're up to 215 episodes. Obviously, Kyle Lofrink was here for part of that at the start, but we've done a whole mess of shows here solo. And I really want to thank everyone for sticking with me and sticking with the show and all of that. Hopefully spreading the word, getting it out there as well, because we're offering this as a free product, obviously, at FantasyGuru.com. You can hear us every day, Monday through Friday, again, 12 Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific Time. Watch us live on Facebook at Facebook.com/FantasyGuruHQ. On YouTube at YouTube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork. Both of those spots, you can leave comments, questions, and we'll address those at the end. You can sign up for the podcast on your podcast network. Just put in Fantasy Sports Daily. And then, of course, FantasyGuru.com, click that Elite Plus tab at the top. Find this show as well as the other shows on the Elite Plus network. So many ways to get involved. Oh, yeah, and Twitter X at Fantasy Guru's site if you are so inclined to watch us there. Can't ask a question there, but you can watch us there. What are we going to talk about today? Well, here you go. Here's a brief little rundown of what we got. MLB performances. We're talking about Nestor, Cortes, Cristopher, Sanchez, a couple of pitchers, but a lot of hitters today. Some good, some bad. Jose Ramirez, Whit, Merrifield, Manny, Machado, Jazz, Chisholm, Pete, Crow-Armstrong, Randy Arozarena, Michael Toglia, Salvador, Perez, Jose Caballero, Elias, Diaz, and Javier, Baez. And then a couple of situations with the Rockies, which stink because they're in Colorado all week. So you hate to lose any Rocky during a week at home at Cortes Field. Ezequiel, Tovar, Brenton, Doyle will give updates there. And then Willson, Contreras as well. We'll see. Oh, by the way, too, as I randomly think of things I want to say here today with my growing head cold, we are going to be changing up the format a little bit next week here. Stay tuned the next couple of days. We'll give that update. Again, we're still going to be at the same time, 12 Eastern, noon, 9 a.m. Pacific. We're still going to be on for basically an hour. We're still going to talk baseball. We're still going to talk football. We'll really start to get into football next week. We're basically going to start doing football every day. But we'll still be doing baseball here moving forward. But we got an announcement to make later in the week about the show. Exciting. A little change, but I think a good one as we get ready for the 2024 fantasy football season, which is less than 2 weeks away at this point. Who could have thought? The chat rooms, Discord, everything over at FantasyGuru.com right now, by the way, are exploding. If you want to get involved, and there's still plenty of time to get involved, go to FantasyGuru.com, click that subscribe tab in the top right corner, and have at it. Dynasty rankings, non-PPR rankings, PPR rankings, half-point PPR rankings, rookie rankings, Superflex rankings. We got a lot of rankings over there at FantasyGuru.com. Tons of information about how to set up a league, how to have success in a league, how to work the waiver wire, how to work the trade market. Are you in an auction league? We can help you out with that. We talk about offensive lines. We talk about schemes. We talk about coaching systems, all those kind of things. We have multiple rooms for football Discord. So all kinds of rooms. They, again, are exploding. I don't remember them being this busy a year ago. So I think a lot of people have found us at FantasyGuru.com, and there's a lot to say. And I really love the fact that a lot of the users as well, you all, help each other out in the Discord room. So check that out. Subscribe tab in the top right corner. You get access to everything we do all season long. That includes all the rankings all year long. That is advice all season long. The articles all season long. All of that is included if you get the seasonal package. You can also get the DFS package. It's available right now if you want to do that for football. Or get the wagering package for football. Or get all three. Get nuts. Get crazy. Get all three. You can also send a note to support@fantasyguru.com. So get your email open, support@fantasyguru.com. Maybe you want to get involved in baseball DFS. Maybe you want to get involved with baseball wagering down the stretch of the rest of the way. Support@fantasyguru.com, and they'll hook you up. All right, let's get into some baseball talk here on the show. Let's start out by talking about Nestor Cortes. He was in a cash game breakdown yesterday at FG, and the fact is that Cortes has had a kind of up and down season, right? A little bit of this, a little bit of that. He gave up 1 run over 6 2/3 innings yesterday against the Nationals in a victory. Again, that was expected. At least he would pitch well against that Nationals team. He had a shutout into the 7th inning, gave up a home run to Juan Yepes to blow his shutout. He wasn't going to go 9 innings anyway, so it didn't matter. But he threw 91 pitches to get through the 6 2/3 innings, pretty good. And he's all of a sudden kind of found his groove here. And this happens a lot with veterans. It happens a lot with guys that are kind of touch and feel, right? It's not Cortes is not throwing 98 and blowing you away. It's not his game. But he's had 3 consecutive starts where he's worked into the 7th inning. He's allowed just 1 run in those 3 starts. He's got a 9-1 strikeout to walk ratio. And again, he's pitching really well right now. And that's what we need. I've seen a lot of questions, a couple questions this morning, in particular, people in chat asking about, setting lineups this week. They're in the fantasy playoffs for their head-to-head system and all that. People have been bemoaning what the hell happened to Bailey Ober yesterday. Bailey Ober, exploded. Would he give up 9 runs? I think he'd had 11 straight quality starts going into yesterday. These things happen, but it's just absolutely horrendous timing. And so a guy like Nestor Cortes on the other side of things, who all of a sudden has found his groove, is a huge benefit. And his next start's against the Cardinals on Sunday, so it's a 2-start week for Nestor Cortes. If they stay on track here, Cortes pitching very well. Cortes should be rolled out there in pretty much every setup right now. I think everyone knows that, though, so that's not really breaking news. Cristopher Sanchez was scheduled to face the Astros on Wednesday. They decided to shuffle the schedule up a little bit. We're going to have Taijuan Walker pitching on Wednesday for the Phillies, which means they're going to push back Sanchez a day. No injury that we're hearing. They're just trying to manage the innings of Sanchez, who are getting really high for him. Astros is not a good place, not a good team to face. Is the Braves any better? It's probably worse, right? So he faces the Braves. So I don't know if that's, it's not necessarily a win. He does get the extra time, hopefully, to heal and physically be in the best shape possible for the start. But he's backing up a day, going from the Astros to the Braves, with Walker again going against the Astros. We're not starting Walker, so that doesn't matter anyway. Jose Ramirez last night went 3-4, run scored, RBI, 3 doubles, and, he's good. Newsflash, Jose Ramirez is good. And just when we look at Jose Ramirez, and there's always a reason or a way with Jose Ramirez to look at him and say, look, he's about 32, and there's a little bit of pullback here, and there's a little bit of pullback there. And okay, maybe. Jose Ramirez has done something for the second time in his career. So on 30 home runs, 30 steals, 30 doubles. The other time he did it was back in 2018. That was his other 30-30 season. So both times he went 30-30, he went 30-30-30. He's got a legitimate chance to meet or surpass his career best in RBIs of 126 from a couple years ago. He's at 103. He's got 33 home runs, giving him a shot at his first 40 home run season. 39 is his high there. He's got 94 runs scored within shouting distance of the 111 he scored previously as his best. Hitting 274, which is basically a career average. On-base percentage is down a little bit. Slugging percentage is up a little bit. Overall, the OPS is his career average. He's just really damn good. And the thing that sets him apart, as we're all aware, is the fact that he does steal bases, which for the third base position is not frequent, or it's not common, I should say. And 30, 100, 100, unless he gets hurt, he needs 6 runs. So he has been phenomenal. I saw some signs last year where he had his worst, let's face it, it was his worst full season in 5 years, right? It was, wasn't bad. It just, for him, was down. Still stole the 28 bases last year, so he almost went 25-30. So he still was very good in the fantasy game, but there were little concerns. He's not a big guy. He does a lot of pulling of the baseball, and you wonder, is this the time where he's going to lose just that little bit? Strikeout rate is the same as always. The walk rate is down a little bit, and that is something we can look in the offseason. He's routinely walking in double digits in that walk rate. This year it's 8.2%. I don't think that's a significant factor, at least not at this point. But just a shout out to him, 30-30-30, Jose Ramirez. We just take for granted how good he is, and he just continues to get it done. Now, a guy that used to be a star in the fantasy space, he was the guy that you would take when you said to yourself, all right, need a middle infielder, need a guy that's going to play every day, need some speed. And this guy 1 year hit 300 with 45 steals. Another year hit 277 with 40 steals. He's had seasons of 105, 97 runs scored, 88 runs scored, 80 runs scored. Just last year, he had 11 home runs, 26 steals, hit 270. And then this season, he has stunk, or he did stink. He's no longer stinking. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about Whit Merrifield, who was on the Phillies and hit 199 with the Phillies. Hit 199 with the Phillies. Ooh. Not only did he hit 199, his OPS was 572. He was terrible. He goes to the Braves. All of a sudden, the OPS is 796. The on-base percentage is 396, which was obviously greatly aided yesterday by the 5 hits he produced. But all of a sudden, Whit Merrifield is back on the fantasy radar. It qualifies at infield and outfield, which is nice. Second base and outfield, maybe even third base. He's played third base 12 times. So depending on your setup, you might have 3 games or 3 positions. The really interesting thing here is for him, he's been hitting 8th or 9th since his addition to the Braves. But with the injuries they're dealing with, Michael Harris pinch hit yesterday. So, it looks like he's going to be able to work through his arm issue and maybe be back in the starting lineup today. So good news there with Michael Harris. Where does Harris go? Does Harris go right back to the top of the order? Probably. But Whit Merrifield's hit 2nd or 6th his last 5 starts, which is obviously, even if he's hitting 6th, much different than hitting 9th. Now, we've seen Michael Harris have success at the bottom of the Braves order, so we know that can happen. But Whit Merrifield right now, he's got hits in 7 of 8 games. What is he doing here? Let's look back at this a little bit. Let me do some quick math here. By doing quick math, I mean clicking on things so the computer does the math. Hitting 321 with the 424 on base percentage and a 571 slugging percentage the last 8 games. Really good stuff. And he's even stolen a couple bags, got deep once. Now again, yesterday was a pretty impactful effort for him. But the bottom line is he's just been really good. And Merrifield is somebody that I think we can all look at and say to ourselves, he's not what he once was, but right now he's in a nice groove. And right now we all need that. Let's just be frank about that. We all really need that. 5 for 5, 2 runs scored, the double. I'm just looking at his last couple of games here. Yeah, his last 9 games, he's got hits in 8 of 9 games. I even shorted him what I should have. 8 of 9 games he's got hits. Batting 370 with the 460 on base percentage the last 14 days. So 12 for his last 25. Yeah, pretty damn good. Whit Merrifield. I got outbid by him. Didn't I get outbid by him in Tout Wars? Moved back into first place in Tout Wars last night. Let's see. Transaction logs. Merrifield. Didn't I get outbid by $1? Was it $1? Merrifield. I'm trying to remember real quickly here. I feel like I was outbid by $1. Merrifield went for $13. And what did I bid on it? Merrifield? I bid $6. All right. I don't feel as bad then for missing out on him in that 15-team mixed league. But Whit Merrifield killing it right now. Another guy who's all of a sudden started to find a stroke, and this is much less surprising than Merrifield finding a stroke, because Merrifield obviously is no longer what he once was. Manny Machado, 2 for 4, 3 runs scored, 3 RBIs, hit a home run yesterday. That's 323 with 8 home runs and 24 RBIs his last 26 games played. His overall numbers are still kind of moderate for him. But again, 323, 8 home runs, 24 RBIs in 26 games, coming down the stretch hard here and producing as Manny Machado is supposed to produce. And I think one of the things with Manny Machado, who just turned 32, is just he's remarkably consistent. And there are still flashes and still moments where Manny Machado outright stardom, right? But for the most part, he's just good. And there's nothing wrong with being just good when just good gives you 30 home runs and 90 RBIs every year, right? Now, the running piece seems to come and go with him, and this year it's basically gone with him, which is fine. And he's stolen 7 bases. Maybe he'll get to 10 on the year. 20 home runs, 74 RBIs. He's got a chance to go 30, 100, 30, 90 again. And he basically does that every year. The batting average is up to 270. The on-base percentage, is up a little bit from last year, but still, a 77 OPS, it's not very good. It's very average. But he plays every day, hits those home runs, drives the runs in. And as noted, he's done a very good job here of late, trying to rebound from what was arguably a slow first half of 2024. Chisholm, back, returned from the elbow issue. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief, decided to hit a home run yesterday, because why in the hell not? Overall, he's now got 20 home runs and 27 steals. So as long as he stays on the field, he's going 20-30 this year. Be the first time he's ever done that, because if you look back at his career, he's never played 125 games. He's constantly hurt. So he's always hitting 18, 14, 19 home runs, right? He's right under that 20 mark. But clearly displaying the talent that gets us all excited. The power speed combination, which is significant. And you look at his time with the Yankees, and that's now 8 home runs with the Yankees, hit almost 300. He has been phenomenal with the Yankees. And it's really been pretty damn impressive. And he has not only not skipped the beat in going to the Yankees, he has actually improved, which was obviously the hope of the Yankees. And it's, he's hitting 5th, 6th, 7th. The last handful of games he's batting 5th. So he's not getting the advantage right now. A lot of people were hoping that Jazz would hit at the top of the order for the Yankees, in front of Soto, in front of Judge, and be in the best spot in baseball. They haven't done that. They used him in more of a run-scoring position, as I noted, 5th, 6th kind of thing. And he's done it. He's produced. There's always a chance they change that up. But right now, we talked about him earlier this week. I believe yesterday we talked about Gleyber Torres, who was in that leadoff spot. All of a sudden, Gleyber Torres is starting to get things done offensively. So looks like Chisholm will stay in that middle of that order for the Yankees, be more of a run producer. And he's done an excellent job of that since they acquired him. Now, yesterday, the Cubs had 8 steals in their 18-8 victory over the Pirates. They are the first team to score 18 runs in a game while also stealing 8 bases in that game since the New York Giants, not San Francisco Giants, New York Giants, did that in 1912 against the Boston Braves. So let's think about this. It's the first time a team's had 18 runs and 8 steals in a game since 1912. That's before World War I. New York Giants, they're now in San Francisco. The Boston Braves, well, the Boston's the Red Sox, right? The Braves obviously went to Atlanta. So everything is different. That's how long ago that was, over 100 years ago. And the reason I bring that up is because that's so cool. But also, the 8 steals, 3 of them were by one guy, Crow-Armstrong. And, Armstrong is somebody I want to say very recently, maybe even last week, 2 weeks ago, recently on the show, I said, he's just, or maybe it was on an article. I forget. It all runs together. He's just, And overall, he's been just, I mean, his 274 on base is just terrible. Outright terrible. But looky here. The last 3 weeks, he's stolen 5 bases. He scored 10 runs in 17 games, hitting 298 with a 365 on base percentage. That's rocking and rolling, folks. And if you look at his last week of games, he's played 7 games the last 7 days. 2 home runs, 3 steals, 6 runs, 7 RBIs, and a slugging of 680 and an OPS of 448. So the last week, he's been phenomenal. If Crow-Armstrong is on the waiver wire, change it. I mean, I really like to see over the last 3 weeks as well, the fact he's got a 0.5 walk to strikeout ratio, which is much better than his seasonal markets like 0.25. The strikeout rate's down, the walk rate's up a little bit. Obviously, he's producing on the base paths. He's even gone deep 4 times in those 17 games. I think it's a fine time to add him if you need a boost. And, now it's not saying much after yesterday's big game with the 3 steals. But remember, as I'm noting here, that's the 3rd time in 4 games he had at least 2 hits. And he's been very effective here. I don't anticipate this level of success down the stretch. I think that would be, of course, asking too much from him. But he is an extremely talented offensive player who, even if he has a strong finish, is still going to be very moderate offensively this year. So, coming into this season, 10 to 15 home runs, 30 steals, those are still doable numbers. He's got 7 home runs and 26 steals. He could still get to 1030 this year, which would be quite the accomplishment given where we were at about a month ago with him, albeit with the poor slash line. Though, again, the last 3 weeks, he's looked like a different hitter. Good for him. Youngster making adjustments. Okay, let's see here. Randy Arozarena, if I could say his name. 3-run home run to help the Mariners beat the Rays. Of course, it's a revenge game. You know how this goes, folks, right? You face your old team, revenge. You can't help but have success. At least that's a lot of people play that game. I don't play that game, but it's just fun to do. Randy Arozarena is now up to 17 home runs and 20 steals. As we have talked about all season long, he's going to go 2020 yet again this year. I fully believe that at this point. Unfortunately, after a great month, he had a month of time, maybe 5 or 6 weeks actually, where the numbers look like prime Randy Arozarena. The last month, he's regressed to the guy we saw the first 3 months of the year, and it's just a terrible set. He's got a 331 on base percentage, which, okay, right? It's not great. Okay, fine. What was the number last year? It's 377 the year before. 364 last year. 327 the year before that. 356, 380. It's a down number. His current number is about 350. It's not horrible, but it's down. 213 batting average is terrible. He's a 250 career hitter. He's not a batting average guy. He never will be a batting average guy. There's strikeouts here and all of that. But 213, and it's even worse than that here of late. The last 3 weeks, it's 183. Now, the odd thing is, his on-base percentage in that time is 364. So the walk rate is through the roof. He's got 11 walks in 18 games. 364 on-base percentage is what we're talking about here. So if you're in an OBP league, even though he's hitting 183, you're fine. If you're in a batting average league of 5x5 traditional setup, he's hitting 183, which is horrid. 1 home run, 7 RBIs, 9 runs scored, 4 steals. So, again, this is a format-based thing. In a 5x5 traditional setup, a 183 batting average with those numbers is terrible. In an on-base percentage league where it's 364, those numbers are fine. So it really comes down to, again, what your format is. But at the end of the day, 11 strikeouts and 60 at-bats is not a bad number. Excuse me, I read the wrong column. That's why. Whew, I'm going to sneeze. Look at the sun, Ray. Look at the sun. It's 24 strikeouts and 60 at-bats. Now, that makes more sense. That is a bad number, which is why his slugging percentage is below his on-base percentage. Bottom line, he's going 20-20 this year. Is it going to be messy? Yeah. Is it going to be disappointing? Yeah. He doesn't even have 50 RBIs yet. So very, very hollow consolation. Very disappointing. We thought the move to Seattle would reinvigorate him. It did for a little bit of time, but right now he's back into his offensive ways when he was with the Rays, and that just doesn't work in the majority of leagues. Very disappointing. Michael Toglia went over 3 with a walk yesterday. Now, prior to yesterday, Toglia, whose price in DFS is really up. I mean, he's a power hitter. He's got good matchups. He's in Cortes this week. I mean, we're seeing like $5,000 over on DraftKings. He went over 3 yesterday with the walk. Prior to yesterday, he had reached base in 14 to 17 games and hitting over 300 with a couple of home runs in that time. So there is something going on with Michael Toglia. Now, the problem with Toglia is the same problem we've had all along, and that is really he's not a very refined hitter. Despite supposedly being the first baseman of the future for this team, he's really struggled to create the necessary production to become that guy. And he's got 21 home runs and 46 RBIs and 49 runs scored in 85 games. So he's basically on a 40, 90, 90 full season pace. That'll work, right? Unfortunately, this looks an awful lot like Joey Gallo because he's hitting 221 with a 31% strikeout rate. Will a team have patience for a player like that? Again, we look at Toglia. He was at one point in time, I think, probably the 3rd or 4th prospect in the organization. He was supposed to be someone that was going to hit 30 home runs with 90 RBIs year after year. He's fallen to the point where, there's a lot of people coming into this season which thought, is Toglia even a full-time player at the big league level? It's like it went from this guy's going to be a number 5 hitter for a decade to can he even hold down an everyday job at the big league level? I think he's proven that he could. Now, again, it really depends upon, first or second division team is a big difference. Could he be this type of offensive performer on a team that's, 15 games over 500? Maybe hit him 9th, maybe, but he's just not a very refined hitter. I do love to see the fact that his walk rate increased this year. It's nice to see the strikeout rate pull back a little bit, but again, a 31% mark is still really not good. His walk to strikeout rate is still below the league average. He's done, as he showed up this is the positive. He showed up and said, look, I changed things up and I'm trying to create damage when I hit. No more what I'm trying to create damage. His 270 isolated power mark is a strong mark. It's a very good mark. His exit velocity is up 2 full miles an hour from last season. His barrel rate is it's almost triple, actually. It is triple from last season. He's at 17%. And his hard hit rate's 50%. So what we have here is we have a player whose WOBA is 338, which is better than the league average. But his expected WOBA is 362. That actually works. And again, the batted ball data is very supportive of this being a 30 home run bat that does damage, albeit with all the strikeouts, the concerns with the batting average, and just because of the batting average concern, a league average on base percentage is going to be the result. So he'll be fascinating to see. It'll be fascinating to see what the Rockies do here because the Rockies have 18 players that are all kind of the same-ish guy, and they're I don't know what the Rockies are doing. The Rockies don't know what they're doing. They seem to change course all the time. We'll talk more about the Rockies here in a few minutes. But Toglia has basically done what he anticipated and suggested he would do in the preseason, and that is be effective without being somebody that stands out in any appreciable way. Power is nice, but it's really hard to play a guy who's hitting 220 with a 300 on base percentage. It is the old Joey Gallo. You can use that guy, but you have to have your lineup constructed in such a way that it works, and it's difficult to do that. Salvador Perez last night, he had a night. Have a night, Salvador Perez. And, sometimes when you're just good like Salvador Perez, you kind of you blend in a little bit. You know what I mean? It's like you get so used to the guy just being really good. This happens to, I think, a lot of good players. You get so used to him just being really good that you kind of, okay, He had one season where he went bananas in 2021, right? 48 home runs, 120 RBIs, 121. One of the greatest power hitting seasons of a catcher ever. Ever. He was spectacular. He's never had 30 home runs in another season. Now, saying that, he's had home run seasons of 21, 22, 27, 27, 23, 23, and 25 this year. So he's a 22 home run hitter as an average, I'm guessing. He's got 25 right now. He's got a chance for his second 30 home run season. He also had his chance for his second season of 100 RBIs. He has 94 right now. And again, look at these RBI totals: 79, 70, 70, 64, 80, 80, 76, 80. He's 22, 80 every year. He had one massive season, and he's not going to have as massive a year this year. But he's got the batting average up to the 280s. He's got 25 home runs and 94 RBIs. These are not good. These are excellent numbers. These numbers play at first base. These numbers play at third base. He's a catcher, right? And the last 3 weeks here, he's been incredibly productive, hitting 300 with 1,000 OPS, 5 home runs, 19 RBIs in those 18 games played. So everyone drafted Perez and was hoping for that, 250, 2280 season. They've got that in spades. He's picking things up offensively. If you look at his play chart here, he's been DH 21 times. He's played first base 34 times. And he's only caught 77 times. So they've done a really good job. Freddie Fermin's done an excellent job there as well as a support piece for the Royals. For the Royals. So this is allowing Perez to do what he always does, which is get more at-bats than almost every other catcher. He's almost up to 480 at-bats right now. He's in the lineup every day. They keep that bat active, and he continues to pound the baseball. He's just been terrific yet again. Jose Caballero is the exact opposite. He has no power. He's not a very good hitter. He went 0 for 3 yesterday. Still stole 2 bases. And, it's really fascinating with Caballero because at some point, it's like, doesn't the fact that you really can't hit catch up to you? I mean, look at his numbers to date include a 232 average, which is not good, a 291 on-base percentage, which is really bad, and a 374 slugging percentage. Nothing in that slash line is close to league average. He's got 9 home runs and 37 RBIs. Whoopie-doo. He scored 50 runs. Got 37 steals. And so he not only has 37 steals, he's been caught 13 times. He's run 50 times. So he's running all the time he gets on base. He's qualified at second base coming into this season. He's played 33 games at third. He's played 75 games at short. So right now he's qualifying in 3 positions all across the infield. He needs 1 more game at second base to have 20 games played in all 3 of those spots. So he qualified there next year as well. He's in the lineup, and the Rays do the mixing and matching thing as we discuss all the time. But he can't hit. I don't mean, I will say this for him, though. Even though he can't hit, the last 3 weeks batting 245 with a 288 on base percentage. Okay. He's got 9 stolen bases the last 3 weeks. So those concerns we had at the trade deadline, what's going to happen with all the pieces they've got there? Is he going to be in the lineup enough? He's been in the lineup enough. And again, he's still not an offensive force by any means, but he's continuing to run, which is at this point the only reason, obviously, you have him rostered anyway. He's doing it, and he's picked up the pace here of late to an even greater level than we saw in the first half of the season. So tip of the cap to him for that. Still a marginal player in the majority of fantasy leagues, but somebody who is running wild, and that's what you need him to do. At least he's doing it. Javier Baez, I did put him on the list here. I skipped Elias Diaz. Let's talk about him real quick since I'm looking at the list now. Elias Diaz, who we talked about yesterday, how I replaced him in my what league was it? Labor? One of my leagues. I forget what it was at this point. Replaced him because I needed a second catcher because, we can't be having a guy who's not even on a team in Elias Diaz be active in a lineup. Elias Diaz signed with the Padres, which is interesting because Higashioka has done a very good job. Luis Campusano has not been the offensive player that he was hoped to be this year. It's kind of an odd signing because they already have, again, 2 veteran catchers in Campusano and Higashioka. The Padres did sign Diaz. Can't imagine they signed him not to promote him when they feel like he's ready. So he'll go down, spend some time on the farm. I assume he'll be up soon. Maybe they carry 3 catchers in September with the extra player, right? Because they expand the roster by a couple of spots. Maybe this is bad news for Luis Campusano. It doesn't excite or lead me to tell anyone to go add Elias Diaz. That's not where we're at right now. Even in a 2-catcher league, really tough to see, again, clarity for the playing time. But he'll get a chance. Really surprising because as we've discussed, and as everyone knows, Elias Diaz, he's got some faults here, but he's hitting 270. He made the All-Star team last year. He's an effective offensive player. But teams just, and again, this is one of those things where the Rockies probably made the move they did just to save money. Maybe there is something going on that we're just unaware of, something kind of behind the scenes here. But for now, we don't know. All we know is that Diaz is with the Padres, and we'll see how that goes. Now, speaking about Javier Baez, his season is over. He's got a lumbar spine and hip issue. He's been transferred to the 60-day injured list, ending his season. 184 batting average, 221 on base percentage. Javi Baez, I'm on a Dynasty League team, 14 teams in the league, 45 roster spots. I have Javi Baez. I've had him for years. I'm going to have to drop him this offseason. Javi Baez is 31 years old. He doesn't turn 32 until December. He's got 3 years and $70+ million left on his contract. Are the Tigers going to have to just release him? Legit. Are they just going to release a guy that they owe $70 million to? Since the start of last season, he's played 216 games, and these numbers are catastrophic. 208 average, 251 on base percentage, 315 slugging percentage. That's a 566 OPS. It's catastrophic. Now, remember, back in 2018, this guy was an MVP candidate. He went 30-20, 100 runs, 100 RBIs, hit 290. The year after that, he hit 280 and went 29, 85, 89. Going back the year before that, 23 runs, 75 RBIs, 75 runs scored. The year after COVID, 2021, as recently as 2021, he went he was 2 steals away from 30-20. 87 RBIs, 80 runs scored, and hit 265. So in 2021, he was a superstar in the fantasy game. In 2022, he stunk. In 2023, he was horrible. In 2024, he was an unmitigated disaster. Oof. Again, I think there's a very real possibility that he's released. You're hearing rumors about that. Tigers just eating the money, saying, "Look, we're not in the Javier Baez game anymore." Maybe, right? Maybe he gets released in a new environment and new lease on life. I don't know, but he always lived on the edge, and he was somebody that, if you've been with me for years, thank you. He was always somebody that I talked about and said, "Look, it's happening now, but the line is so thin between him being an all-star and just a guy." And he went from being an all-star to just a guy to falling off the face of the earth. That's what we got with Javier Baez. Is it impossible that he has a late career resurgence? No. Again, he's not even 32 years old. Have we seen any signs the last couple of years of that occurring? We have not. His 2024 season is over. Let's talk some injuries here. And we had a really crappy situation play itself out yesterday with the Rockies. There was a lot of uncertainty as to what the hell was going on with the Rockies lineup yesterday. The Rockies lineup that I saw that was released had Brenton Doyle in the lineup and Ezequiel Tovar out of the lineup. And no one knew what was going on with Tovar. We were all disappointed. Shoot, why is he not in the lineup? They're in Colorado. That sucks. Doyle was batting leadoff. I had Doyle in the core 4 over at fantasyguru.com. I had a bet placed, and this is the weird part. I placed the bet, the hit run RBI prop for Brenton Doyle goes up 10 minutes after I looked at it. I'm writing up the notes and everything. So this is literally, I posted this 10 minutes after I saw the odds and everything on the board. So I get it posted. Then I'm in Discord, and 4 minutes after that, I get a note, Brenton Doyle's out of the lineup. I'm like, what? So I go and look at the source I normally use, and the source I normally use still has Brenton Doyle in the lineup. I then go to MLB.com. Brenton Doyle's not in the lineup there. So clearly Brenton Doyle, and then the news starts coming out that he's not in the lineup. No one knows why. So now I have to scramble. I have to go erase the bet that was, again, he was in the lineup. I waited until the lineups were announced. He was in the lineup. Pulled the bet back. Had to go and readjust the core 4. We didn't get any clarification for a while. Brenton Doyle, it turns out, has a leg issue. Now, they're saying he's going to need another day or two off. They are not anticipating at this point in time that it's a serious injury. They're not anticipating Doyle going on the injured list. This frickin' sucks. Doyle is on my Tout Wars team. Again, I'm in first place right now, vying for a championship there. He's got a 7-day window here at home, 7 games at Cortes Field. We're rocking and rolling. He's got a 950 OPS at Cortes Field. He's dynamic. He's just dynamic at Cortes Field. So he missed yesterday. He might miss another day or two. So he could miss the whole series to start the week, which sucks. Let's hope that the reporting of him not being really injured and just needing a couple days is accurate. Terrible timing. Ezequiel Tovar. Well, we learned after the fact that Tovar has a sports hernia situation. Now, this is weird. And this came up in the Discord over at fantasyguru.com. I hear sports hernia, you hear sports hernia, and that is, is he needing surgery? Is he going to be out 6 weeks? Like, what's going on here? The reporting suggests that he got the day off yesterday, but they don't think he's going to be out long term. And in fact, they're kind of thinking he's back in the lineup today. So what does this mean? Tovar is obviously a spotty option this week. Even if he's back in the lineup, you don't know what you're going to get. Even if he's at Colorado, like he is this week, he's a home run away from 20. He's batting .270. His OPS is up 60 points from last year. He's been fine. He's really been a compiler, and there's nothing wrong with being a compiler, right? Nothing wrong with going 270, 20, 70, 70. That's kind of where he's at right now, that type of a player. He has shown some slight improvement from last year. At the same time, unfortunately, his walk rate has gone down. He's swinging even more. He's absolutely, don't hate me. He's absolutely in the Javier Baez zone. Absolutely in the Javier Baez zone right now with this approach. And that's concerning. Short-term concern is he going to be active or not? Sports hernia. Remember this. We always talk about cores and the way the baseball flies and how it's hard for pitchers to get the spin and everything on the pitch. Remember, when you're playing at altitude, a mile above sea level, one of the most difficult things for players is having the recovery of their bodies, because it's really difficult. It's not just breathing. It's just your body, right? That wears on you. And if he's got a sports hernia, yeah. So I am growing concerned, though, again, at this point in time, the Rockies are saying just a rest day. He should be okay. We'll see. Let's hope it's true with both guys. I think in the case of Tovar, it would stink to lose him. In the case of Doyle, it would really stink, because that power-speed combination for a price point that might have been you picking him up off the waiver wire for nothing, that is a really big piece we need down the stretch here in the month of September. Both these guys we'll keep close eyes on because they're in lineups on a daily basis. Willson Contreras had the hand issue, and there was a report out there that suggested that Contreras maybe 15 days he'll be back. We're hearing that's not the case now. He's got the broken finger. He's going to be out of the lineup. He's going to be on the sideline, not doing anything baseball related for at least 3 weeks. So if he doesn't do anything baseball related for 3 weeks, then he starts catching, then he starts hitting. I mean, we got 5 weeks left. So maybe he's back for the final 2 weeks of the season, maybe the final week of the season. Knowing him and his track record and his history, I don't think they'll shut him down unless it's just the recovery is not going well. Like, I think he would come back to play the last week of the season is what I'm saying. But even so, you know what I mean? It's like, would you start him in a fantasy league in the final week of the season if he just got activated? Pedro Pages and Ivan Herrera will handle the catching duties for the Cardinals. This is obviously another injury for Contreras this year. He's been almost as good as ever, really, but he's just missing time now. Generally, an injury with the broken finger, as we discussed, 4 to 6 weeks. So it does put in peril the ability for Willson Contreras to contribute at any point for the rest of 2024. As we talked about yesterday, we threw some names out. I mentioned one today, Freddie Fermin. Maybe who was it? Gary Sanchez we talked about yesterday. Like, catch spots getting spotty and spottier as time goes on. We just lost potentially for the rest of the season one of the best in Willson Contreras. All right, let's see here. I got a couple of comments here. Mark Peterson says the following. Same lineup issue happened last Sunday with Bregman and Altuve. Hard to set a lineup with different official sites have different lineups. If you dig into X, you might be able to get to solve the riddle. Yeah, it's there is a rush to be first. We all know this, right? There's a rush to be first. And that doesn't always mean you're right. And frankly, what happens behind the scenes, right, is a lot of our sites and everyone, anyone in the world of sports gets their feeds from like one of three people. And if one of the three people, when I say people, I mean, companies. If one of the three companies, fat fingers a button or incorrectly inputs a button, 50% of the people in the fantasy space are going to have the wrong information. There's also the fact that the Astros, in particular, Mark, as you know, because we've talked about it here on the show, the Astros, not exactly the most forthcoming with injuries this year. We know that's the case. Jordan Alvarez recently, Justin Verlander, Alex Bregman, Cal Tucker, who's still not playing baseball after he wasn't even going to stand up on the injured list. So, yeah, but it's tough. And, this is something that I've talked about for years. And it's something I've run polls on and I've talked to all of you about here on the show and in articles and Discord at fantasyguru.com. Remember, you click that subscribe tab in the top right corner to get involved. We are moving into a different era in baseball, and we have been for years. And the truth of the matter is, we can't play this game like we did in 2015. And we certainly can't play it like we did in 2005. Okay. The end of the season, the month of September in particular, is a disaster. The one thing that helps us slightly is the rosters don't expand like they used to, right? They're not bringing up every player in the organization. So at least we don't have to deal with who the hell is that playing in left field for the Mariners today. We don't have to deal with that. But what we have to deal with is teams constantly mixing and matching based upon matchups, constantly guys in and out of the lineup, watching their health, and like we're talking about with Doyle and Tovar and all this other stuff. One of the biggest issues that I run into, because I write the Cash Game Breakdown 4 days a week over at fantasyguru.com, I'll be doing that today, is that there have been many times recently where I'm going, to put the lineups together, and I don't even know who's pitching. And if I don't know who's pitching for a team, what do I do? Do I delay the article and make all of you have to rush to put a lineup together? Do I just leave that team out that day? If I don't know who's pitching for the Diamondbacks, do I just leave their opponent out that day and not include them at all? How can I include their opponent when I don't know who they're pitching? Now, we know that obviously in DFS, we're focused on the starting pitcher, but of course, how the bullpen's performing matters, all that. And we talk about that. That's why I have the Burr report, all that stuff. But the starting pitcher is a big piece. That's getting worse. So it's getting more. The other day, I had a day where I woke up and I got down on the computer 7:30 in the morning on the West Coast, which is 11:30 or 10:30, obviously East Coast. 4 teams didn't have an announced starting pitcher on the day of. It's like, come on, man. So this issue of lineups, this issue of teams and it's bad, and it's going to get worse in September, especially when the teams, they're out of it. What do the Pirates do? Do they shut down Skeens? Do they shut down Jared Jones? What disastrous pitching duos would they, guys with injuries, guys running up on innings pitch marks, all these kind of things. It's going to get even worse. So I hope that we get good reporting. We don't always. Sometimes we do, but a lot of times we don't. But a lot of this is just going to be on us to ferret it out, as you said, Mark, and figure it out ourselves. It kind of sucks. Jim C says, how are we doing today, Ray? I'm doing okay. Like I said, I got a little bit of a cold. I think I picked up a little cold at the old Mai Tai Festival on the weekend, but that's okay. It was 80th anniversary of the Mai Tai. How often is it the 80th anniversary of the Mai Tai? One time. So what the hell? We did it. But thank you for asking. Rubby17, and we just mentioned this guy's name. Are you rolling out Jared Jones today? When a player comes back, my general default, as I'm sure you're aware, Rubby, and everyone else, my general default is when a guy comes back from injury, I'm reluctant to start them that first time back out. Now, in the case of Jones, he hasn't thrown a pitch officially in almost 2 months. His last start was July 3rd. Okay, that is a long time. That's a long time. He faces Justin Steele today, so that lowers if you're in a traditional setup, that lowers the impact potential for the victory for Steele. For Jones, of course. He threw 73 pitches in his last start. So Jones should be able to throw 80, 85 pitches today. If that's the case, he should be able to go 5-6 innings, no problem. I think that Jones is a moderate start today. I don't want to overestimate the impact of the missed time from Jones, because he is a potentially dominant arm. On balance, I'd start him. If you have a little bit more information, Rubby, like your format and everything, and if you can get it in here real quick, I could happily answer that. And that's something too, and I don't mean to, when you ask a question here in Discord or whatever and say, do I start this guy this week? It's like, well, are we in a roto setup? Are we in a head-to-head setup? Who else could we turn to? Do we need strikeouts? Do we need innings? Are we trying to get quality starts? Like, it really helps me to help answer your question, because right now I'm kind of on the fence with Jared Jones. I would say that for the day, Jared Jones is right in the middle-ish of all the pitchers on the slate. I'd probably put him, I'm looking at some stuff here as we're talking. I'd put him in the top third, I guess, barely 40% range. I mean, he's kind of in the, I'm going to start him, but not expect him to go 6 innings of quality start. I'll say start him. I'll say start him as my general answer there, Rubby. Is it, as you can tell, is it an overly confident one? No. But the fact that he was at 73 pitches in his last minor league outing, that he should be able to throw 80, 85 today, should be able to get through 5 innings, It's always difficult. Okay, here we go. Rubby's at. It's a little bit more head-to-head, wins, ERA, whip, strikeouts. Okay, see that helps. Do you have any other pitchers to turn to this week? Do you need the extra starts? What's your opponent look like? I would say, as I'm said there, I'm going to lean thumbs up to starting him. Not wholehearted, not expecting a dominant effort. I wouldn't be against sitting him. He's on the 60-40 train. How about that? He's at 60% start, 40% now. Let's go with the start. It all depends who you've got. Like, are you going to pivot and go pitch Javier Rodriguez or Johnny Cueto? So it really depends who else you'd have the rest of the week. But I'll lean towards starting Mr. Jones. That'll be my call on that one. And we'll keep our fingers crossed. And by the way, another thing, and I don't say this, Rubby or anyone else, what I normally do is I start working on the pitching matchups the night before for the cash game breakdown, and then I really dive in the morning of because of this show that interrupts that process. So I actually haven't gone through the entirety of the pitching for the day. I do that right after the show is over. So it's never a negative. I know you don't double negative. You don't want to wait until 10 minutes before game starts to ask me a question because I may not see it. I get it. But they do start today, the Pirates, at 3:40, which is 6:40 East Coast time. There's time to look into this. If you send me a question in Discord in a couple of hours, I'll have a better answer for you because I'll really gone through the entirety of the slate and had a little bit more information to answer that question. Remember, folks, if you want to do some football, and who doesn't want to do football, you can go to drafters.com. Get signed up at drafters.com. Where are we going? Let's do this right. Here we go. Get drafters.com. They're not going to fill their contest. You get a chance to win part of $2.5 million in prizes. There's going to be overlay here for the event. If you've never signed up at drafters.com for their best ball tournament for fantasy football, sign up now. Use the promo code ELITE to get you a 100% deposit match. If you've been a member there over at drafters.com, you've been to the site, you've played over there previously, use the promo code ELITE10. That gets you a 10% bonus match. So either way, you can get a bonus match. They're still doing these drafts. Tyler Beaker, who we have on here all the time, he's talking about he's making the push for 150 best ball drafts. He's getting close. He's going to have to pick things up here the last week, but he's hoping to do that. Tomorrow on Wednesday, we'll talk to Armando Marsal. Thursday, we'll talk to Tyler Beaker. Friday, we'll talk to Russell Clay as we talk football about a half an hour into the show each of those 3 days. Remember, next week, we're going to change things up. We'll announce that later this week, what the new schedule is going to look like next week, all that kind of fun stuff. Same time, same bat channel, all that kind of stuff. Just a little bit of a tweak here as we move into a little bit more football. We will continue to cover baseball, as I've said all along. We'll follow that to the regular season. Football will start next week, every day of the week. All the articles, everything ramping up over at fantasyguru.com right now. So plenty of time for you to get involved. You got a draft coming up this weekend. You want to grab the rankings. You want to ask some questions in Discord. You want to read the articles, find out what we think about player X or player Y. fantasyguru.com. Click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. Have at it. Join us. We'll have a lot of fun and hopefully help you to have some success in 2024. And I got to feel pretty good about making a statement that I think we can do that. So check it out. One final note here, as you see David Ortiz getting a shower behind me. Gatorade shower, I believe. Fenway Park. I went to Fenway back in 1999, 98 or 99. When year do they have the All-Star game there? Whatever year that was. And they don't have it anymore, I don't think. But there used to be candlepin bowling below the stadium. It was amazing for those people that don't know. You get the ball, it's about the size of a softball. The pins, they're maybe, 12 inches tall, like the knob of a bat kind of thickness. Candlepin bowling. I think it's candlepin bowling, right? Super cool. Did it with my dad, my brother. Had a lot of fun doing that. I just thought of that when I was looking at the old Fenway Park. The opposite side of the Green Monster. You don't normally see the back there, but that was a little story. By the way, you can always let me know too. I should have asked this at the start when we had time left in the show. What's been your favorite? Maybe I'll ask that for tomorrow. What's your favorite stadium that you've traveled to? Not your own home park. Like, I can't use the Giants here. You're not your own home park. But what's the favorite stadium you traveled to? If you think of it or remember tomorrow and you're still here with me, leave it in the Discord and we'll talk about it a little tomorrow. Maybe I'll even remember to mention it. So thanks for listening to us today. Really appreciate it. I'm going to go write the cash game breakdown today. Remember, a little lower on the writing for me this week because I'm getting all the football stuff ready for next week. And I'm also starting the rankings. The rankings come out the final time, September 1st for fantasy baseball. So that'll be out this weekend. So a little less actual writing on the seasonal piece this week as I go through everything. Mark says, there we go. There it is. 99 All-Star game. Thank you, Mark. There was a bowling alley on Lansdowne Street. Yeah, there you go. Mark is on the case today. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate you. Appreciate you, Mark. Appreciate all of you, too. Rubby17, Jim, everyone that's watching today, everyone that watches every day. Thanks for joining me today. We'll be back tomorrow We'll talk again tomorrow on Mersaul as we start our football talk for the week. That'll be about a half an hour into the show that starts at 12 o'clock noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific time. I'm Ray Flowers. Follow me on social media at the Ray Flowers. Find me in Discord over at fantasyguru.com, answering questions everywhere like a madman. The Jim Carrey typing thing. I've gotten that a lot lately. And appreciate you all joining me here. Join me over at fantasyguru.com as well. I'm Ray Flowers. I'll see you again tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific for Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by fantasyguru.com.